She once looked me straight in the eye and said, "If he wanted me, I'd walk out on you tomorrow." Talking about some guy she worked with. That night, I ended it. He turned her down, her reputation at the office went down the drain, and for the first time in my life, I was thankful for someone showing me exactly how cruel they could be. Before I dive deeper into the story, let me just say, if you're watching this, hit that subscribe button and give it a like if you want more real stories like this one. I appreciate the support. Growing up, I believed loyalty was something you never had to question in a relationship. That's just how I was raised. If you're with somebody, you show up for them. You invest in them and you don't keep an escape plan in your back pocket. That's how I treated my girlfriend, Claire, for the 2 years we were together. I wasn't flashy or the type to sweep her away on surprise vacations. That's not me. But I was steady. I worked hard, covered most of our dinners, listened when she came home venting after long days, and reminded her of her own strength whenever she doubted herself. I honestly thought that counted for something. Claire worked in marketing at a mid-sized company. The job drained her, and she'd come home stressed out, unloading about deadlines, tough clients, or the endless office politics. I'd sit and listen, sometimes for an hour straight, even though my job wasn't exciting enough to trade stories. In the beginning, she seemed grateful. She'd curl up on the couch next to me, pour all her frustrations out, and then thank me for being her rock. I liked that role. I didn't need to be the guy full of surprises. I wanted to be the guy she could depend on no matter what. But over time, her tone changed. A few months back, she started mentioning a coworker named Derek more often. He was some mid-level manager, confident, ambitious, the kind of guy who liked the sound of his own voice. At first, it was harmless little comments. Derek doesn't let anyone push him around in meetings. He knows his worth. Or, Derek told our boss off about a deadline. He's so bold. The way she said his name bothered me. She wasn't gushing, not outright, but there was this lingering admiration in her voice that made me uneasy. I told myself I was overthinking it. People talk about coworkers all the time. She was probably just venting. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling there was a comparison hiding underneath her words. One night, she came home late from a happy hour with her coworkers. She tossed her bag on the chair, kicked off her shoes, and walked in buzzing with energy. "You know," she said, filling a glass with water, "Derek was hilarious tonight. He just has this way of telling stories that gets everyone laughing." I raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like you had fun." "Yeah," she grinned. "He's just different. So confident. So charismatic. People pay attention when he talks." She looked at me, like she wanted me to respond a certain way. I kept my tone steady. "And you don't think people pay attention to you?" She rolled her eyes. "You know what I mean. You're safe. Predictable. That's not bad. It's just different." That word safe, it stung. She tried to make it sound harmless, but it stuck in my chest like a splinter. After that, little digs started creeping in. When I hesitated about buying something expensive, she muttered, "Derek wouldn't overthink it. He just acts." If I turned down a last-minute weekend trip because of work, she sighed, "You're too careful." Derek would just go. It wasn't constant, but it was enough to notice. Enough to feel like I was being measured against someone else's shadow. I didn't call her out. I figured maybe it was just a phase, or maybe she didn't realize how her words came across. So, I kept being the same guy, loyal, patient, always there to listen. But in the back of my mind, a little voice had already started to wonder if she even valued that anymore. The truth is, betrayal doesn't usually blindside you. There are cracks in the wall long before it collapses. I just didn't realize how wide those cracks had gotten until the night she finally said the words that ended it all. It happened a couple weeks later. Claire and I were on the couch after dinner. She had a glass of wine in her hand, legs tucked under her, scrolling on her phone. I was half watching a game, half listening to her chatter about work. At first, it was nothing serious, just another story about her team's presentation. But then, of course, Derek came up again. "Derek basically took over the whole thing," she said, smiling as she shook her head. "He threw out the slides and redid them in an hour. Everyone loved it. I swear that man could talk his way into or out of anything." I grabbed the remote and muted the TV. "You bring him up a lot." She blinked, like it hadn't even occurred to her. "Do I? He just seems like the kind of guy people notice. You'd like him if you met him." "I'm sure," I said carefully. "But you realize how it sounds when you're always comparing me to him, right?" For a split second, I saw irritation flash in her eyes. I'm not comparing. I'm just saying he's impressive. You don't think I'm allowed to say someone's impressive? She set her wine glass down and sighed. Don't make this into a thing. You're stable, reliable. That's good. But Derek, he's bold. He takes risks. Sometimes I wish you'd do more of that. There it was. Not just admiration anymore, but a straight-up comparison. I leaned back. So, what, you want me to be someone else? That's not what I said. She shot back, defensive. I just mean, sometimes you're too careful. Life's short. Don't you ever wonder if you're missing out? I didn't answer. The silence stretched, and she filled it. Of course, I appreciate you, she added quickly. You've been good to me. But if we're being honest, don't you ever wonder if we're just temporary? That one hit like a punch. Temporary? I repeated. She shrugged, casual as anything. What if one day we figure out we want different things? What if you meet someone who's a better fit? Or Her voice trailed off, but the message was clear. Or you what? I pressed. She looked at me then, a smirk tugging at the corner of her lips, like she was testing me. Or I meet someone more in line with what I want. I felt my chest tighten, but I forced my voice to stay calm. Like Derek? Her smirk widened. You said it, not me. Claire? I said slowly. Do you even hear yourself? You're talking about another guy like I'm just a placeholder until he notices you. She laughed, but it was cold. You're being sensitive. I'm just being honest. Everyone thinks about these things. No, I said quietly. Not everyone does. For a second, she just stared at me, almost daring me to push back. And then she went for it, the line that snapped the last thread between us. Honestly, if Derek wanted me, I'd leave you tomorrow. Don't act surprised. You know it's true. She said it like she was tossing a live grenade on the table, waiting to see how big the blast would be. But for me, there was no explosion, no shouting, no swearing, no begging her to take it back. I just sat there, really looking at her, and the truth hit me plain as day. She wasn't joking. She wasn't bluffing. Somewhere deep down, she believed every word of it. She had already told me exactly where her loyalty stood, and it wasn't with me. So I gave a small nod, almost to myself, and unmuted the TV. She blinked, caught off guard by how calm I was. What? You're not going to say anything? She pressed. I kept my eyes on the screen. No, you've said enough. And for the first time since we'd been together, she had nothing to fire back. She shifted in her seat, restless, sipping her wine like she was waiting for me to explode. But I didn't. Truth is, I was done the second those words left her mouth. That night, I barely slept, lying next to her while she scrolled on her phone like nothing had happened. But I already knew. Tomorrow I was ending it. The next morning I got up before she did. She was still curled up in bed, yawning, scrolling, messy hair everywhere, acting like last night was erased. I made myself coffee and sat at the table, staring into the steam while I replayed everything. 2 years I'd been steady, patient, loyal. I gave her my time, my energy, my support. And with one smug sentence, she told me I was just a placeholder until something better showed up. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to stick around and see if she'd actually follow through. I was finished. When she finally wandered into the kitchen, she gave me a faint smile. Morning. You're up early. I nodded. We need to talk. Her smile faded. That sounds serious. It is. I set my mug down. Claire, what you said last night. About Derek, about leaving me if he wanted you. That wasn't a joke, was it? She blinked, then gave this nervous little laugh. Come on, you're still hung up on that? I was just being dramatic. I held her gaze. No, you meant it. Her arms folded tight across her chest. You're overreacting. Couples say dumb things sometimes. It doesn't mean anything. I shook my head. It means everything. You showed me exactly where your loyalty stands. And I'm not going to fight for basic respect. Her jaw dropped, then snapped shut. She stared at me like she couldn't believe I wasn't bending. So what? You're breaking up with me over one sentence? It wasn't just one sentence. It's been building for months. The comparisons, the digs, the way you talk about him. Last night was just the truth finally slipping out. And I heard it loud and clear. Her voice got sharper. You're really going to throw this away because I said something stupid after a glass of wine? I stood, calm as ever. No, You threw it away when you decided to measure me against someone else. I'm not temporary. I'm not a placeholder. But you made it clear that's all I am to you. Her eyes narrowed. You're being ridiculous. You always overthink everything. You'll regret this once you cool down. I'm not angry, I said simply. I'm just done. The look on her face was almost comical, like she couldn't process me not fighting for her. She was used to being in control, used to me smoothing things over. But this time, I wasn't playing that game. Fine, she snapped. If that's how you feel, then go. So I did. I packed a bag that afternoon and crashed at a friend's place for a while. Claire sent a few texts. Short ones like, "We need to talk?" or "Are you serious right now?" But I never replied. By the third day, she stopped. The silence hurt, sure, but it also cleared my head. I realized I didn't actually miss her. I missed the comfort of our routine, the version of her I thought I had, the one who leaned on me, who appreciated me. But the real Claire? She was someone else entirely. Someone who thought pining after another guy was fair game in a committed relationship. Someone who treated loyalty like it was optional. And I didn't owe her anything after that. She, on the other hand, wasted no time moving on. Mutual friends told me she was bragging around the office, calling me safe man, saying she was better off keeping her options open. And when people asked, she'd sprinkle Derek's name into the conversation in that same admiring tone. I didn't care, or at least I was teaching myself not to. Every day I ignored her. Every day I stayed quiet. And with every day that passed, I felt a little stronger. I buried myself in work, hit the gym, went on late-night drives just to clear my head. My phone stayed quiet, and I liked it that way. For the first time since we'd gotten together, I wasn't bending myself around her moods or her words. I was just me. And for once, that was enough. About 2 weeks after the breakup, I got a text from a buddy who worked in the same building as Claire. He didn't know the full story, just that we weren't together anymore. His message read, "Dude, you're not going to believe what's happening with Claire at the office." I didn't respond right away, but when I finally did, he called me. That's when I found out Claire's little crush on Derek wasn't as subtle or as harmless as she thought. Turns out she'd been running her mouth too much, telling coworkers that if Derek ever gave her the chance, she'd ditch me in a heartbeat. Maybe she thought it sounded edgy or playful, but offices aren't high school cafeterias. Word spreads, people judge, and eventually it got back to Derek himself. Here's the kicker, Derek had a girlfriend. A serious, long-term one. He wasn't interested in Claire. He wasn't flattered by her attention. He was embarrassed. My buddy told me that when she finally worked up the nerve to drop a flirty comment in the break room, nothing physical, just a little too obvious, Derek shut her down instantly. He told her straight up he wasn't interested, that he loved his girlfriend, and that she needed to cut it out. And because office gossip travels faster than email, by lunchtime everybody knew. Overnight, Claire went from being that confident, charming coworker to the one who humiliated herself chasing after a man who wanted nothing to do with her. People avoided her in the cafeteria. The women gave her that mix of pity and judgment. Even the guys who used to joke around with her started keeping their distance. My friend described it like watching a social stock market crash in real time. I wish I could say I felt bad for her, but I didn't. I remembered her words. If he wanted me, I'd leave you tomorrow. And all I felt was a cold sort of justice. She gambled her dignity on Derek noticing her, and she lost in front of everyone. About a week later, she reached out again. "Can we talk? Please." I didn't reply. The next day, another message popped up. "I miss you." I was stupid. I didn't mean what I said. Still, I stayed silent. Then came the longer ones. Paragraphs about how she'd been in a bad headspace, how she was scared of commitment, how she was testing me when she said all that stuff. That one actually made me laugh. Testing me? Like I was supposed to prove my love by sticking around while she fantasized about running off with another guy? By then, I already knew the truth. She didn't miss me. She missed the stability I gave her. She missed having someone at home who respected her, who absorbed her moods without complaint, who made her feel safe. And now that Derek had turned her down and the office was buzzing with whispers, she wanted that safety net back. But I wasn't going to be it. About 3 weeks after the breakup, I ran into her by accident. I was at the grocery store, grabbing a few things after work, when I saw her standing in the aisle with a basket. She froze the second our eyes met. For a moment, I thought she might turn and walk away, but instead, she forced a smile and came over. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," I answered, keeping my tone neutral. She glanced at the items in my basket, then back at me. "You look good." I shrugged. "I feel good." That seemed to throw her. She bit her lip, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. "Listen," she started. "About everything that happened, I messed up. I wasn't thinking. I said things I didn't mean." I tilted my head. "You seemed pretty clear at the time." Her cheeks flushed. "I was trying to be funny to get a reaction. I thought maybe if I made you jealous, you'd treat you better?" I finished for her. She winced. "I didn't mean it like that. I don't know. I was stupid. And now everything at work is a mess. People are talking about me." She caught herself, realizing she was slipping into self-pity. She looked down, then back at me. "I just wish we could go back to before. You and me, we were good together." I looked at her for a long moment. I could see the cracks in her confidence, the desperation behind her eyes. She wasn't the smug woman who once told me she'd leave me for Derek. She was someone standing in the wreckage of her own choices, reaching for the bridge she'd already burned. But I didn't feel anger anymore, just distance. "We were good," I said finally, "until you showed me how little I meant to you. And once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it." Her eyes welled up. "So that's it. That's it." I adjusted my basket and gave her a polite nod. "Take care of yourself, Claire." Then I walked away, leaving her in the aisle, clutching her basket like it was the only thing keeping her steady. Driving home that night, I felt lighter than I had in months. Not because I told her off, not because she was humiliated at work, but because I realized I was truly free. Free from the comparisons, the manipulations, the half-hearted affection. She was living with the fallout of her choices, and I didn't have to carry any of it. For the first time in a long time, I felt thankful. Thankful she showed me who she really was. Thankful I walked away. Thankful she was out of my life. And that's the thing about people who treat you like an option. Once you recognize your own worth, you never want to go back to being their backup plan again. Thanks for sticking with me through this story. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you want more. What do you think? Was I right to walk away? Let me know in the comments.